Samantha, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you about being the regional advisor for the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators there in Austin. What is that role like, and what does that bring to your writing and publishing career?
That was another thing, actually, I forgot to mention. That was another thing that I was dealing with during the pandemic, because, of course, we had to switch everything to online. And so, as well as the deadlines, I was also dealing with that, and we have monthly meetings that we meet at the Book People, our biggest local independent bookstore. We have speakers come, and I remember when everything kind of hit Austin, and I think this was in March, we had Chris Barton was our speaker for that meeting. And I emailed him like a few days before, and we were just starting to get a lot of cases in Austin. And I said, I'm starting to think maybe we need to go on, online. What do you think? So we had to make this kind of split decision days before the event that we were moving it online just to protect everyone. So we did that. But then we had a conference on May 1st. Of that year. So 2 months later, so I had, as well as all these deadlines, I had to move an entire conference, me and my team had to move an entire conference online for, close to 200 attendees and 20 something faculty members, which was interesting, but it all worked out. It was a beautifully amazing weekend. Just sitting at a computer, but it was the most that I'd seen anyone for a really long time, and it was a lot of fun to do. But to answer your question, this was something that I never really thought I would be able to do, because again, I had a great deal of lack of self-esteem and kind of belief in myself and insecurities. And a friend of mine, an author, Bethany Hegedus, had kind of encouraged me and said, you'd be really good at this. And so then I got the opportunity to do it. And I'm so glad that I did. I've now been the regional advisor of this Austin chapter this is my 8th year, I think. And it's been an amazing experience. The people that I've met through it have been fantastic. I was able to build up a much bigger community through this, not just within Austin, but also all over the world, because I've been in connection with RAs and other volunteers, illustrator coordinators, assistant regional advisors for, at chapters all over America, but also all over the world. And we have a listserv, so we keep in touch. The listserv is really for business, for SCBWI business, but knowing that we get advice from each other, and then I would see them at conferences. So I gained all of these additional friends. And prior to being the RA, I was not published, and but I didn't even have an agent. And I remember my first conference that I put on, all of these, a bunch of people were, making really good contacts with agents and with editors as well. Some of my published friends were making really good contacts with editors, things that could potentially happen. And I was thinking, none of these people are really going to be right for my books. And so I was thinking, well, I'm not going to make as good contacts in this, but that's okay. I'm helping them. I'm learning a lot. I'm meeting people. It'll be great. And then it actually turned out that a friend of mine, another author, Donna Janelle Bowman, was talking to an agent at the conference. And my friend Donna basically kind of pitched my book, The Boy, the Boat, and the Beast, to this agent. And the agent then asked me and said, everyone else is pitching me their book except for you, but I hear it's really great. Why aren't you pitching it? And in my head, I was thinking, well, knowing kind of the books that she represents, I didn't think that she would really be interested in my kind of writing. She had amazing clients, but they were very different. So I thought, I'd be wasting my time sending it to her. And I didn't tell her that at the time. I was just like, oh, you know, I'd love to send you my stuff. So she said, send it, I'd love to read it. Sure enough, 3 months later, she sent me a rejection letter. And I was like, well, there you go. By this time, I'd already had, you know, hundreds of rejections. Well, not hundreds. I had like over 100 by the time I signed with my agent. So I'd had like plenty of rejections by then, probably over 100. But the interesting thing was, she said, these are ready to go. They're just not right for me. But you should send them to these 2 other people. And I promptly did not follow her advice, because I was busy writing another book that I was planning to self-publish, and a YA book. And so then a few months went by, and then I got an email where she was copying me on a conversation that she'd been having with these 2 other agents about me, which was amazing. And they both wanted to read my books, so I sent it to them. And one of them, Rachel Orr with Prospect, was the agent who signed me. And so, you know, I got my agent through Liza Pulitzer Voges, who had recommended me, and she met me, you know, through a conference that I had put on, and hired, you know, asked her to come and be, you know, part of this this conference. So, you know, would she have done that if I wasn't the RA? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. But I do know that thanks to, you know, SCBWI, I've learned so much through the courses and everything that they put on, through the courses that I've organized and been able to sit in on. And I don't have a master's degree, you know, in creative writing. So I basically kind of learned through SCBWI workshops. And yeah, I mean, all of those connections that I've made has been amazing. And Laurent Lynn, funnily enough, was the art director at the exact same conference. And we had kind of kept in touch after that conference. And because I had taken him, he didn't have a flight out, so I'd taken him on a little driving tour around Austin. So when my book sold to Simon & Schuster, and he's the art director for Simon & Schuster, I really wanted to, you know, say to my editor, can I just tell my one friend at Simon & Schuster? But then he heard about it. I had told him about the book. We'd had coffee, and I told him that I was working on the book, you know, way back when. And then he heard about it and asked to work on it. So he was then my art director at Simon & Schuster. I mean, the industry is a very small industry, really. You know, everyone knows everyone. People meet and keep in touch, and you know, you make all these connections. And SCBWI has been an amazing place for that. And being a volunteer there, I always recommend to people, you know, if you can volunteer, do it. If you have the time, try to do it, even if it's just a small job, because you'll make so many more connections. And I'm not just talking about business connections. As the RA, I was able to make those, and even as a volunteer you can, but I'm also talking about just your community. You know, as a person who is pretty shy usually, it helped me to be able to go to somewhere. I was volunteering for SCBWI long before I became the RA, because I could go to an event and I could say, oh yeah, you know, I run one of the critique groups. And that helped me to have something to talk about, other than, you know, feeling bad and getting that "are you published" question, which I've always hated. People never ask somebody else, "are you published?" Ask them what they're working on. It's much more fun. And, you know, so yeah, I highly recommend it. I think it's an amazing organization, and everybody, the support and encouragement that you get from the people within it, the volunteers, is amazing. It's been fun.
Whatever it's worth, I think that 8 years as a regional advisor to the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators is at least the equivalent of a master's degree.